Hello, hello. Welcome to the lives of American Krishna, where we go deep into actually reading passages from the famous Bhagavad-Gita, the Song of God, allegedly spoken by Lord Krishna himself. The favorite version or the favorite edition of the Bhagavad-Gita that I recommend everyone to read, and that I certainly read above all others, is the one by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the As It Is version. However, here we are right now going through a text called a book by the author named H.D Goswami, Ph.D. from Harvard, a direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada, a Ph.D. in Sanskrit, who wrote about 4 or 5 years ago a book called the Complete Guide of the Bhagavad Gita with its literal translation. And I helped translate the book into French, and it's a great thematic breakdown of the Bhagavad Gita. So we're going to continue reading. For those of you who are live here, the two of you, thank you for being here. And we're continuing on this topic of the three modes of nature, the three gunas as they're called in Sanskrit. So let's read on, and then when there's references to actual verses, we'll read those verses. So we're at the bottom right page here, where Krishna declares that nothing on earth. So here we go. Krishna declares that nothing on earth or among gods in heaven is free of nature's mode. So here's a verse 1840, we might as well go to it, where Krishna himself says here, bottom right, there is no being on earth, nor yet among gods in heaven who is free from these three nature-born modes. So we're super conditioned. We tend to think I'm free, but we are very much conditioned. And we're conditioned by these modes, by karma and by these modes. So, sorry, I lost the page here. Krishna says, I'm sorry here. Here we go. Bottom right. Krishna declares that nothing on earth or among gods in heaven is free of nature's modes. How does this work? How does this work in practice? Consider our attraction to other human bodies. Mere atoms or molecules do not send us swooning, for every physical body basically contains the same types of atoms and molecules. Right. So in other words, a body is just made of molecules, and it's not like, if you're a man, let's say, and you're heterosexual and you see a particular woman that's really attractive, it's not like the molecules in her body that attract you. It's, H.D Goswami or Hridayananda Maharaj here continues here. He says, rather, when we see a body that exudes the modes that are right for us, we fall into lust. So it's the modes, it's like the type of influence that particular body is made up of that, sends us swooning, so to speak. Conversely, opposing modes arouse our hatred. Thus, bodies that are biologically the same but that exude different modes either bewitch or disgust a given observer. Similarly, so now we go into architecture. So the point is, these modes of nature influence everything and everyone in the material world. But interestingly, in the Bhagavad-Gita, in the same text that we're reading, in the 11th chapter, if you're familiar with the text, at one point Arjuna asks Krishna, Arjuna the great warrior, asks Krishna, please show me your universal form, at which time Krishna reveals past, present, future, everything in one place, sends Arjuna reeling in the sense of kind of freaking out. And then at one point, Arjuna starts glorifying Krishna and offering him all these beautiful prayers, famous prayers. And one of them, he says, you are above the modes of nature. You are above the modes. So the idea is that God is above these modes. God is above all conditioning. And we... unless we're free of these modes, we're obviously conditioned by them. We are conditioned souls. And our goal is to reawaken our love of God so that we can live to a greater degree free of the influence of these modes, even while being embodied in this world. So let's continue here. Similarly, many houses are built on the same basic materials, wood, stone, cement, etc., but a house with a certain style or feel, a certain mode, in other words, either attracts, repels, or leaves us unmoved, depending on the mode of consciousness we have cultivated in life. In choosing friends, spouse, music, career, food, neighborhood, movies, recreation, and everything else, we choose and attach ourselves to particular combinations of the modes. Thus, we either reinforce or transform the quality of our life. For example, when we give charity for a good cause, solely to help others, and with no desire for return, we give charity in goodness. So here, as I said, the modes affect everything and everyone, including the type of charity we may be giving. The type of charity that you may give is influenced by these modes. So here, the author refers us to the 17th chapter, where charity in or influenced by either or a combination of these three modes is described. So in 1720, let's go to the verse. In 1720, and then there's 1721 and 1722. So let's go to them after we read the summary here. When we help others but also seek fame or profit through our gifts, we give in passion. And giving that does more harm than good is in darkness, such as a gift that enables one with clear criminal intent to harm the innocent. Thus, the quality or mode of our giving affects the quality of our life. So let's go to 720, 721, and 722. So at 1720, Krishna says, thinking it is right to give, a gift given to one not serving the giver, at the right place and time, to the right recipient, is held to be in goodness. A gift giving grudgingly to gain service in return, or again, aiming at the fruit, in other words, being attached to the result, I'm going to get something out of this, is held to be in passion. A disrespectful, insulting gift given at the wrong place and time to the wrong recipient is declared to be in darkness. So these are pretty self-explanatory. Let's go back. God, let's go back to the text here, but I'm sorry, I keep bringing you back to the following chapter here. Here we go. Krishna gives a similar modal analysis of faith, food, sacrifice, austerity, renunciation, knowledge, action, the doer, reason, determination, happiness, and vocation, explaining how each mode binds us, leading to varieties of future lives. You can go to you should buy this book too if you want on Amazon. It's really great. Good, passionate, and dark acts are all habit forming. So this gets interesting. Like you act, let's say, in the mode of passion, then that mode of passion grows on you, and then you become sort of conditioned more and more by that mode. Let's read. Good, passionate, and dark acts are all habit forming. So good refers to the mode of goodness, passionate refers to the mode of passion, and dark acts refer to acts enacted in the mode of ignorance. As we choose friends, places, music, food, work, etc. in various modes, we give those modes power over our lives. In 1322, let's go to 1322. Krishna says here, indeed, present in nature, soul, that means you, that means me, experiences nature-born modes. Clinging to modes causes soul's birth in good and bad wombs. Far out. So let's try to go back here. Hopefully, it's not sinking back to the right word. But anyway, our mode choices, the author continues, also shape our perception. No, so for virtuous acts beget virtue, passion engenders passion, and dark behavior such as addiction, wanton violence, etc., traps one in darkness. Our mode choices also shape our perception of reality. This is where our worldview depends on how much influence of either of the three modes we're getting. Our perception of reality, thus consciousness in goodness perceives a deep spirit. This is really great. We're going to really go deep into this. This is really, really, really cool. How worldviews are shaped by our consciousness, and consciousness influenced by these modes influence the kind of worldview that we have of others and of the world. So, for example, here, consciousness and goodness. Hey, we're going to finish about 10 minutes. I hope you don't mind.
Oh, that's good. I'm going to grab coffee first.
Yeah, cool. Because I know this is the quiet area, but there was no one here, so I thought of...
Yeah. No worries. 10 minutes, totally fine.
Cool. So, consciousness and goodness perceives a deep spiritual unity within all differences of race, gender, species, etc. So when your consciousness is influenced by this mode of goodness, you see the unity, not necessarily that we're all one, but you see the unity in all individuals as sharing a common, spiritual essence, right? So for example, in 1331 and 1820, let's go to these references. In 1331, it's stated, when one perceives that all beings' distinct states stand in one and expand from that alone, then one advances to Brahman. That's a nice one. And then there's the other verse, 1820. Let's go to 1820. Somehow the hyperlinks are not working so well today. In 1820, Krishna says, knowledge and goodness is that by which one sees a single unchanging reality in all beings, undivided in the divided. In other words, when your consciousness is influenced by goodness, what to speak of pure goodness or pure spirituality, then you don't really stop at the gender of somebody or the skin color or even the race or even the species. You see a soul. That's basically it. You see a soul. You see, hey, I'm talking to a soul right now. And that soul happens to be in a white body or a black body or a woman's body or a man's body or a dog body or a bird body. It doesn't matter. I'm standing in front, because you can't really speak to a dog or you can't have a meaningful conversation with a bird. But that's how you perceive the world and others. Now let's go back to the description of when you don't see in that way. In other words, when you're not seeing souls, what are you seeing then? Well, passionate perceptions sees such differences as fundamental and final, with no ultimate unity. In other words, Martin Buber, the Jewish philosopher, spoke about this in his book, I and Thou. And speaking of the Holocaust, and speaking of how, but it doesn't apply just to the Holocaust, however big or small the Holocaust was. The point is, when someone commits violence against someone else, the person committing the violence has to objectify the other person, so that the other person is no longer a person, but rather an object, which you can do whatever you want to. So, when your consciousness is influenced by the mode of passion, well, here's what Krishna says. Knowledge and passion is that by which one sees separately in all beings various natures of separate types. So, the Jews are totally different from the Muslims, or the whites are totally different from the blacks, or the Brahmins are totally different from the Shudras, or the other. The straight is totally different from the gay. Like these categorical differences where you no longer see a common ground. That's a worldview in the mode of passion. And then, finally, in the mode of ignorance, knowledge that clings irrationally to one task as all that is meager and lacks a sense of truth is declared to be in darkness. So let's go back to Dr. Resnick's analysis here, and we'll stop at this, because also there's a lot of background noise, and I apologize for that. Thus, the modes are both modal and epistemic. That is, they reflect and condition the moral quality of our acts, and also govern how and to what extent we understand the world and ourselves. A passionate person may read piles of books, perform many experiments, and contribute vastly to our material knowledge, but only the virtuous soul rises to the clear consciousness by which is seen the ultimate purpose and meaning of life. Well, that's really cool. You could have someone who's in some way influenced by goodness, like a professor or a doctor or a teacher or a priest. Well, hopefully the priest is also is not too much in the mode of ignorance, or a pastor, but can look externally as being, very well dressed, well behaved, knowledgeable. But if his or her consciousness is very much influenced by passion or ignorance, at the end of the day, that person won't have that type of vision where you see souls everywhere, and will make the same type of mistakes that other people who may not even look so scholarly or etc. will also make, being influenced by this mode of passion or ignorance. So what's the point? The point is we have to live as much as possible in the mode of goodness, because goodness is a source of illumination. Goodness is what makes us access transcendence much easier. So what does that basically mean? That basically means following a lifestyle wherein we try to do 4 things strictly, or as well as we can. And if we manage to do these 4 things, which I'll explain right now, then to a great degree we are already quite influenced by goodness, and we avoid the influence of passion and ignorance. What am I talking about? Having a plant-based diet, avoiding to contribute to the slaughter of animals. So whether it's vegan or vegan plus milk products that are offered to God, that's another topic, right? Eating food offered to God before, but it has to be at least vegan or vegetarian, is another topic. But one thing is sure, not eating meat, fish or eggs, not taking intoxication, drinking alcohol, smoking. Those type of things really attract that mode of passion and ignorance. So staying free of intoxicants. Staying free of gambling. Gambling is a great source of pulling down one's consciousness to the mode of passion and ignorance. And the 4th one, staying away from sexual relationships outside of a marriage. Those 4 activities bring down our consciousness into passion and ignorance. Avoiding these activities keep us in this mode of goodness to a great degree. And when we are operating in the mode of goodness, then it's a lot easier to see souls, for example. Right? If you're consuming pornography all day long, or if you're eating at McDonald's all day long, or if you're spending all day and you're in a casino, and if you're drunk and high all day, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to see others and communicate with others and see them as souls. You'll see them as their bodies a lot more, because you're influenced by that mode of passion and ignorance. So we should try our best to follow these 4 ethical principles, and of course, add to that and base that on connection with the divine, connection with divinity, connection with God, connection with Krishna, by chanting his holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, by reading books like Bhagavad-Gita, by hearing these lives, by offering one's food to Krishna, by eating food offered to God, by going to congregational gatherings of chanting of God's names. And by doing that, by having a spiritual practice where we're connecting with God on a daily basis, then combined with this ethical lifestyle of staying in the mode of goodness, then we can really access high levels of divinity and experience happiness, spiritual happiness. That's at the level of the soul. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon. Hare Krishna.